Okay, good afternoon, people. Today we are going to talk about a very simple 2D game, which is called Pong game or Racket game. We are going to create some menu and some scenes. For example, we will have a menu like this. We will have human versus human, human versus AI, and AI versus AI. We are going to control some rackets and play with them. And we will have scoring system simply and do some simple mathematics. So that will be the task of today. So the game is going to be 2D, so we will have to make a 2D game. In programming, and then week 4. So we will make a game, and from now on we will continue to make some other games. Like we will start with 2D game and later on 3D game, and after the midterm exam we will talk about artificial intelligence in game programming. So the idea is simple. We will have 2 rackets, and then we will have scoring system, and then we will try to match these ball, and after that we will try to get a score. Higher score is better. In this game we will learn UI scoring system, and we will know how to design game menu like buttons, events, and we will add a sound for the first time, and we are going to add some scripts to the game object so that we can control the game object's position, some other attributes. And also we'll talk about input from users, so we'll control the things using keyboard. And then simple AI, and then plus we will build the game if you have enough time. So this is we are inspired by the original Pong game, which is launched in 2072. It's a very old game. And then we will implement this game in Unity, and Unity is a game engine. It will be easier, of course, than this. So the rules of the game is simply we will have 2 rackets, left and right rackets, and have a ball, and we'll have a play area, and then top left we will have a score for the left racket, and then on the right hand side we will have score for the right racket. So if the ball reaches this goal area, so if there's a collision here, then racket right will get some score. If the ball reaches that area, and then left racket is going to get a score. This is the idea, simple idea. But the thing is, we need to compute the returning vector of this ball. If the ball hits the wall, it will just directly go back. But we don't want this. We want to do something different that I'm going to explain you later. But first of all, let's start designing our game. So launch Unity game engine, then we will create a 2D game. So from templates, I think I don't have internet connection, work offline. So say create new, then game programming week 4 racket game. Then it will be 2D game, so choose 2D in the template section. That will resolve packages and adding some assets. Then after that we will do some game. The thing is, there is no 2D game actually in real life. Everything is 3D. But the thing is, if you make the camera orthographic 2D, it will be 2D for user, but it's a 3D game. But the thing we are going to use, the component we are going to use is specific for 2D. For example, we cannot use rigid body. We have to use rigid body 2D. We cannot use collision. We have to use collision 2D, for example. These kind of things are different in 2D games. We started with 2D games because this is easier, and then I believe we can learn some concept in Unity. First of all, let's create environmental assets. So we'll have rackets, the walls, things. Here we have only camera here, we don't have light things. And if you go to scene, you're going to see that the camera is actually, I cannot choose camera here, it's an orthographic camera. So if you choose this one, it is actually 3D game, and here you have, it's orthographic camera, we already know this. So anyway, let's make it 2D, and then everything is going to be 2D. So anything in the camera, in the view of camera, is visible. So we are going to put everything here. So let's first of all create walls around, and then right click here, create. We can use sprite for this because it's going to be 2D. So sprites, and then say square, call it wall. By the way, can you see that clearly? Görebiliyor musunuz? Sıkıntı var mı? Okay, so let's drag and drop it here on the scene. So you're going to see it here. And I want to make everything 0 here. So it will align it to the center. And then press E or R here, scale it until you reach the border of these camera things. So and then scale it down in the x-axis and then put it here. Then press Ctrl D, you're going to have same, and then drag this one here. Doesn't have to be perfectly matched, but this is okay, this is fine. And add one more here, and then reset it. It will align it in the center, and then make it like this, and then scale it down a little bit here, then put it here. If you're not sure like whether it's matched or not, you can simply click V, which is vertex mode, and then snap it to this the vertex of the other things. It will automatically snap, so there will be no space between them. But the problem, this looks weird. Anyway, we can fix this simply, and then press V here. Much better. It doesn't have to be perfectly fit, so this is okay, not a problem. And then Ctrl D here again, put it here, and again press F, then it will automatically align. So if you press V, it will snap it vertex to another one. Basitçe vertexleri yapıştırıyor ve temiz bir görüntü ortaya çıkıyor. So here we have the walls, and I want to, for easiness or for to be organizing or making something better aligned, I can create an empty object. Wait a minute, please. I want to create an empty object, empty, so put it again center. This is not so important. I call it walls. And then select all the walls and put inside of walls, so it will be children of this. So if you move this one, it will move them all. So it will be like unique, one single object. So this is the thing we have. So now it's time to create rackets. Drag and drop here again, and then make it reset again. Then like this, and then put it here. And then Ctrl D again. That will be another racket. Call this left racket. This is right racket, by the way. Right racket. The other will be the left one. Okay, it's time to create a ball, and then create sprite here. Then you can create a circle here, then call it ball. Then drag and drop here, anywhere, doesn't matter. And then reset it here, then press scale, make it smaller. So now I can see this one. If you don't want the black background or blue background, you can change the color. Or if you're not happy with this, you can create your wallpaper and assign it to there. This is totally fine. You can do that. For example, here, I think I have some game assets here, and then I think it should be here. So this is the thing. You can just simply using some lines and some circles, you can create this play area, And if you say save as picture, call this background, then save it. You can even use this for your game background. So drag and drop here, and then this is scene mode, and you can just put it here simply. Again, make it reset and then scale it a bit. So this is what you can get. The thing is, the background is front and then wall is back. You can fix this simply. Put the background here behind the wall. What is wrong with this wall? I cannot see that. You can make it 1, so this is totally fine. Like make it far in z-axis. Ya bir anda geri aldınız biraz. Arka planı bu şekilde kalabilir. Okay, now the thing is ready. I can create some UIs element, but before this, let's change the color of these sprites. So how can we do that? We can simply create materials, call it material, for example, orange. And then choose this color, make it orange, like this. And then choose all the walls, and then drag and drop here. You see the color is different. It's like, it looks like black. This is because of shader. So this is sprite, and but this material is for 3D objects. You have to simply go shader and choose sprites and say default. So now you can assign it. That is okay. We can change the color of this, but for now it's totally fine, I guess. Can't think I can do it for the ball also. This is much better. Let's leave it as is. Okay, this is fine. And let's have a UI system. So I'm going to put a scoring like from the left and the right, so we will be able to see the score for the rackets. And so create UI, say text, for instance. And if you press F, you're going to see that your text is here. You can simply put it somewhere here. So you can see it here. And I want to add something more. But under this canvas, I think I can, let's call this, say, GUI. And then I can add more UI, call it image. Again, where is the image? So put it top and left, and then reset everything. Then top and left, 0, 0. You can have this one. And if you put it here, it will be behind that one. It's kind of layering system Unity is using. And make it width is 50, maybe 100, maybe 200. And then for the height, make it 50. So you can simply put it here. We are going to put something here, some UI like element, could be button or something. And add one more text. This will be, say, left racket. And then this will be the score for the left racket. And then maybe I can put a little bit here and make it 0 here. So if you're not happy with this size, you can simply go make it maybe 20 and then put a score here. If you want to make it even bigger, like something like this, it will overflow. So you can set this, you can say I want to allow overflow. So choose this one and it will allow the overflow. Taşmaya izin veriyor aslında Türkçesi. So this doesn't have to be 160, let's make it 30 by 30 and we'll put it here. So I think this is fine. And I want to create an empty object for this. Create empty and then call it reset. Reset here. Maybe I can put it simply here and then F. And then we'll call it left racket UI. And then choose them all and put under this left racket UI and then put this under this UI. Okay, so we will put everything in this UI element. And then since I prepared this one, I can simply drag and Control D, duplicate it and put one more here. So this will be for right racket, right racket UI. This will be used for UI, just to displaying something. The thing is, I don't want this white background. I want to put something different. And beforehand, I prepare something in. You can use Photoshop or you can use PowerPoint. You can simply put just this one and shapes, and then make it simple button. And then I can use this button for my game. Simply save it as picture, and again desktop, and call this UI button, UI say field, and then make it save on the desktop, then drag and drop here. Then for this image, select both of them and then put it in this image component of this, and now you have this one. I didn't like it. You can say set native size. The native size is huge, but I can make it scale it down a little bit here. And if you're still not happy with this, you can play with this and make it like this. Maybe this text is huge. I can make it not 25, make it 15, 20. Can put it a little bit down here for both of them. And maybe that 0 is too far. This is up to you. You can just decide by yourself later on. But for now, I think it makes sense. So now you have your UI system. It is totally fine. But if you are still not happy with this, you can just put it here a little bit, because they're all under this Racket UI. And again here, you can simply set it just like this. Okay, this UI system is right. And the only thing is, this should be right racket. That is all. Now it's time to coding something. But before coding, let's run the game and see what's happening. Nothing, because everything is just image. So I have to give a velocity to this ball so we can start the game. Go to the ball script and say, first of all, add rigid body 2D. And of course, rigid body is useless without collider, or everything is useless without collider. We have to add collider to all of them. First of all, check whether we have collider or not. The background is green, so we won't be able to see that, but here I can see that. So nothing is here. I have to add collider for all of them. Choose all the walls and go here, say box collider, and then 2D. So everything is here. If your sprite render is removed, you're going to see these green things. So now we will have collision. And then of course, for the ball, we have to add circle collider. And for these rackets, left and right rackets, we have to have, and again, box collider 2D. So we will see the collider again here. This is good. Now I gave this rigid body to this ball and see what's happening. But before this, let's write some code to call it ball. I need to set the velocity for rigid body, so I have to access this rigid body collider as rigid body component. So to do that, I have to say game object and get component. So simply I can say, there are two ways to do that. Maybe this way could be public rigid body 2D and say rigid body 2D. And if I make it public, it will be appear here. So, and I can say simply drag this rigid body to here. This is one way, but this is dangerous. You may mistakenly forget to drag and drop. The better way is, you don't have to make it public. In the start, you can say rigid body is equal to game object get component, which means the get component of type, which is rigid body 2D. and that's all. So now you can get them. And for the simplicity, you can simply remove this one. These are same for the unity. So it will going to get the component here and set it or assign it to the rigid body 2D. You understand the idea? So I can simply say RB2 and then velocity means velocity vector. I have to give the vector for the velocity so that it will go that direction. So I want to move it to in the x direction. What should I do here? I should simply say a new vector 2 and then maybe 1 and 0. 1 for x-axis and 0 for y, because I don't want to go in y-axis, just in x-axis, right? So simply new vector 2 and then 1 and then 0 here. So it is going to move in x-axis. But I'm not happy with this number. I don't want to work with hard codes. So I can simply say public float move speed. And then initial value could be 10. And if I multiply this by move speed, it will multiply my vector by 10 or whatever I have. So now start the game. What is this? It's a gravity, right? I have to set this gravity to the 0. And now play the game. You see, it just hit, and then what happened? It didn't move because you need to give the nature of your ball. It could be iron ball, could be plastic ball, could be bouncing ball, whatever. You have to give this nature, this material. So I have this in Unity, create here called physics material. And since we are working in 2D game, physics material 2D, call this bouncing material. And then look at this inspector part. I believe you can see that. In the friction means like when you touch something, there will be a force against you. This we call it friction. And then we have bounciness. Bounciness means number of jump after you just hit it. So I don't want friction here, and I want bounciness 1 because I don't want my ball stops. It should continuously just move. So bounciness is between 0 and 1. If it's 0, it will not bounce back. If it's 1, it will bounce forever. And then play the game. There will be nothing because I didn't assign this material to ball. And choose my ball and assign this material to my ball. So it doesn't matter you put it in circle, in collider, or in the rigid body. The both will work, no problem. So it is here, bouncing material in your collider. Play the game and see what's happening. Böyle değmiyor gibi. Neden? Okay, it's working. Let me check. Okay, I missed it. Okay, let's just move it, see what's happening. Okay, it's hitting, no problem. So you understand the idea. And I want to also give a rigid body to these both rackets, left and right rackets, because I want to work with physics today. And rigid body 2D, and I don't want this gravity scale 0 here again. So the thing is, if I play the game, put it here, you're going to see that it is going to affect it. There will be like collision, and that collision will somehow affect this one. I don't want this one. I have to freeze something. I don't want to move my racket in this x-axis, like left and right. So go to right and left racket, go to the constraint and say freeze in x-axis. So it will not move in x-axis. And again, you see the racket moved, right? This is because this hits this button, and just like in real life, it must rotate in z-axis. Z-axis is just against you, like it's the axis you're looking at. So choose this freeze rotation z, that will not rotate anymore. Okay, so now it's working. So I want to put this ball again in at the center of my screen, so make it 0 and 0. It will be here. We can put it here for better scene. So now it's time to control the rackets using keyboard. How can we do that? In Unity we have input system. Go to file, edit. In project setting, you will have audio, editor, graphics, and so many things we talk about in the first or second lecture, right? And here we have input system, and input we have axis, like horizontal, vertical, fire 1, 2, 3, and jump. These are it's a standard for games. If you like to take a look at these things, for example, vertical, you will see that the vertical is the name of axis, and if I press down arrow, it will generate negative value. If I press up arrow, it will generate positive value. So that value can be assigned any kind of axis so that I can move the object with the keyboard. So these are standard for Unity. I don't want to use them. If I make it like press 20, it will create, or 19, it will create one more for me. It will just duplicate the last one. So I want to call it vertical 1. And then negative button is for vertical 1. I want to choose S for negative and W for positive. And I don't want alternative buttons for these. Alternative buttons means you can do the same thing for alternative buttons, some other buttons. So S and W here. Okay, I already have my input here. It's time to write a code for rackets, right? Because I want to control rackets here. I'm going to control right and left together, so simply choose both of them and add a component called Racket. Then it will create a new script that is here, and double click it. You're going to see that code in Visual Studio. I want to have simply string, say string axis name, and call it vertical 1 because we put it vertical 1. The name is vertical 1. So I want to add again rigid body, but you can directly use also rigid body. How can I use that? Simply I will tell you how to make it, but beforehand let's say float move axis, and if we have input, then get axis. We have get axis and get axis row. The get axis row and axis are axes that somehow will assign that vertical, and then it will going to give you a number, integer float number or integer number. So you're going to move your things based on this one. So simply get axis, and axis name is axis name, and that will produce a float number. So if I assign this value to anywhere I want, and then say get component, maybe I can also add public float move speed, just like in button, make it 5, and then multiply by 5. That will again generate a number for me. So I should say get component can add rigid body 2D, then velocity. That will allow me to set velocity. So if I assign it to the velocity, which means the direction of the movement for rigid body, that I will be able to go there. So I simply say new vector 2, which direction I want to go. Y, right? Up and down. I want to move my racket in up and down, right? Right. So I should leave it 0 in x-axis because I don't want moving this. Even if I put it, I won't be able to make it because I freezed it, right? So in here one, I should say move axis, and that's all. Again, this will give me the rigid body component, and I want to set the velocity here, and then each time I'm going to set this vector 0 and move axis, and that move axis is going to give me value. When I press W, that will give 1. If I press S, it will produce -1 value. So 1 times 5 and 5, so it will go 5 units up and down. So let's just test it simply. So now I can move it up and down. W up and S is down. So you understand? Any question here? But the thing is, I don't want to move them like together because each will be individual player. So what should I do here? Any idea? Any idea? Because they are sharing same script. Maybe I can do that, make it 15 for example, the second one, and the other is 5. So let's see what's happening. Are they same? Looks like they're same. This is 5. Okay, I made a mistake. It should be move speed, right? And then play the game and see what's happening. You see, like right is faster. So I can change like just like this, I can change my buttons, right? Instead of this, make it string, I can make it public. And then if I make it public, that area, that axis name variable will be visible for both of them. So maybe here I can do something different. Call it 2, and I can go edit here and then project settings and create one more, make it 20. And so call it vertical 2, and then instead of S I can say down and up, which will be down arrow and up arrow. These are fixed, you cannot set by yourself. These are just buttons and already known by Unity. You cannot put like down 2 something, this is not acceptable. Okay, down means down arrow, up means up arrow. So now let's play the game and see what's happening. Let's make it. That method is attaching it. That is attaching it. And this is provided by Unity. That method is no. When you press W, it will produce a value for this. Because I call the name of the axis. So now let's make the right this is 5, and let's make it 5 again. So what will 5? And now try, can we individually control them or not? Okay, now I can individual. I think I did something different. Sol sağ sol control diyor. I made a mistake. Let me check. Right racket should be vertical 2 and left racket should be vertical 1 because I set the buttons for this one. Yes, left racket and right racket, so it's working now. So now I can individually control them. But the thing is, the UI system doesn't work, and then scoring system doesn't work, and I don't know how to control the buttons, the ball. So let's play with this. First of all, let's create this UI scoring system. Yok, ikisinde birinde 1, birinde 2 yazıyor. Ha, şunu mu söylüyorsun? Bunu yazdığın zaman default değeri bunu oluyor ama varsayılan değer. Sonra oradan değiştirdiğin zaman override ediyor, üstüne yazıyor. O yüzden şunu yazmaya gerek yok şu anda. Tamam. Okay, let's say, okay, there's a good question. Your friend said that we had vertical 1 we defined for both of them, but it somehow run for vertical 2. The thing is, when you write this something here, this will be the default value. But if you change it in editor here, that will override that value. Okay? It will set that value. So for this one, let's leave it as is. And also for this one. Okay? And now we have to set a scoring system. For this one, simply, if the ball hits this wall, that racket should get score. If that hits that wall, left racket should get score. To do this, we have to have tagging system. We must know which wall we hit, right? And then for this one, we have tagging system in Unity, but I don't want to use that one. Call this left wall, and then call this right wall. I guess, right? This is right wall, and that is left wall. Good. But here again, you have a tagging system. You can add tag here, and then here you can say left wall, just say go to here and set it like tag, but this is sometimes not useful because you may forget them, you may forget to attach them. To do that, we can write our own script. And for this, we have to create a C# script called tag manager simply. And I have to create an enum type, and that enum type will simply tell me the tag. So I don't need this one, both of them. And in the here, say public enum and say tag, or simply tag. Say left wall and then right wall. Then I want to add a reference here, tag, say my tag. And then if you go here and attach this script to both of them, tag manager, that will give you this tag manager. But the problem here is you have to make it public. Otherwise, you won't be able to access this. Okay, for the left wall, it's a left wall. For the right wall, it should be right wall. Now I know which is which. And I want to have a collision system in which object I have to set this collision, on collision enter. Which object you think must have collision? It should be ball. The reason is because the ball is hitting everything, right? The ball is interacting. So go to this ball. Here we have a ball script. We already make it. And here, simply on collision enter 2D, because we are working in 2D, so it must be 2D, not normal on collision enter. And then, first of all, I have to get the tag of the collided things. If it's not wall, then I have to do something different. I should return. Simply, I have to say tag manager and say tag manager. Then collision, if I collide something, that collision could be wall or racket or this one and this one. I want to check if the walls are this one. To do that, I have to check whether it has a tag manager or not. If it has a tag manager component or not. So simply say collision dot game object and then get component and say tag manager. And if this tag manager is null, which means if it's not this or that one, then I should say return. If tag manager is somehow null, which means the object has not tag manager component, we should say return. Don't do anything. And if and else, or you can say if it's not null, simply say tag, then tm dot my tag. So if it's not null, of course I'm going to get this tag. It has that tag because it has a tag manager component. And then say if the tag is equal to tag dot left wall, which means the ball hits the left wall, the right racket must get some score, right? Then say right racket gets score or makes score. And we can copy simply this one. If it's a right wall, then left racket makes score. And how can we do that? To do that, we have to have a racket reference here. And for this equal, you can in C# you can also use this one, just like in Java, equals tag dot left wall. This is same actually. But according to developers, the performance of this equals is better than this equal. So and then say equal. Then if it's equal to right wall, then we can do something. Again, I want to do something here, so I have to have racket reference. Let's go here simply, say public racket, and then left racket, and then right racket. Because we have to access this racket so that we can control something. And I want to do something simple here. If it's left racket, then right racket will make score. Make score. But it doesn't have make score. Simply go to racket class and create a make score here. Public void make score. And then in the make score method, I can simply increment the score value, but I don't have score value. Say simply integer and then score value, and then simply say score plus plus. So it will increment the score value. If it's incremented, I want to display it on the screen. And how can I do that? Simply, we have using Unity engine, then UI. That will give us text component. The text component nasıl? Sıfır kabul ediyor ki. Class'ta olduğu için sıfır kabul ediyor. So we have a public text and then say score text. That score text is actually for this one, because that value here, that score value is this one. I want to use this one, assign that score value. Simply go here and say if we have score, then score text, and the text value of this score text is equal to score. But that score is integer and that left one is string. I have to convert this to string value. So now I have make score value here. And go to ball again here, right racket make score, and here left racket dot make score. Then if it hits the left wall, the right racket will score, and the left racket will make some score. Let's use this one and see what's happening. But beforehand, let's take a look at. Go to this ball. This ball is requiring left and right rackets. Go to the left racket, right racket, put the right, and left one, put the left racket. So now I have the object. Understand? Drag and drop. And then in this left racket, we had something. So this is not racket. Here, you remember we made a score text variable. This is for right racket. Go to right racket, here score, put it here. And then go to left racket, and here, put the score here. And now play the game. And see what's happening. You see it's incrementing. Take a look at here. It's working. I don't like the speed of this ball. Let's increase this maybe 20. So you understand the idea. Okay. Şimdi arkadaşlar buraya kadar olan kısmı ben bir Türkçe kısaca özet geçeyim, ondan sonra devam edelim. Dedi ki on collision enter 2 de topta olacak. Sebebi çünkü top etkileşen, her şey etkileşen şey topun kendisi. 2D olduğu için 2D yazdık. Bizim buradaki yapmaya çalıştığımız şey şu. Çarpılan şeyin tag manager komponenti var mı yok mu, bunu kontrol ediyoruz. Yoksa eğer zaten bir şey yapmamıza gerek yok. Skor mokor hesaplamamıza gerek yok. Çünkü oraya çarpmıyordu. Karakterin çarpmadığı için check ediyoruz. Tag manager olan tek iki tane obje var. Hangileri? Sol kale, sağ kale duvarı. Doğru mu? Zaten onlar değilse return diyoruz. Yani tag manager bileşeni yoktur. Değilse tag manager vardır ve biz bunu alıyoruz. Tag manager'dan tag'i alıyoruz. Yani ya left wall'dur ya right wall'dur. Left wall'sa eğer right racket score yapacak, değilse left racket yapacak. Peki bu right ve left'ler nereden geldi? Bunlar arasında bizim var olan raketlerimiz. Sadece public yapıp bunu alabiliyoruz bu şekilde. Yani Java'da yaptığımız gibi işte racket, new racket demiyoruz. Zaten o raketimiz var. Unity'de bir kodu bir şey eklediğiniz zaman zaten new ile onu oluşturmuş oluyor kendi içerisinde. Bizim new ile bir şey yapmamız gerekmiyor burada. Sadece vektör gibi olmayan şeyleri oluşturacaksak eğer orada new kullanıyoruz. Tamam. Yani bunlar komponent olarak varsa zaten onu direkt alıyoruz. Dedi ki biz skor sistemi istiyoruz. Skor sistem, her raketin skor sistemi kendisinde olacağı için her raket içerisinde bir skor text ve skor oluşturmamız gerekiyor. Çünkü obje tabanlı olduğu için her objenin kendi bilgisi kendisinde olması gerekiyor. Ve bu şekilde make score yazdık. Make score içerisinde skor yaptı. Basitçe skoru bir arttırıyoruz her çarpmada. Ve diyoruz ki artılan bu skor değerini ekrana yazdır yukarıya. Bunun için de score text tipinde bir objeye ihtiyacımız var. Bunu zaten oluşturmuştuk. Yaptığımız tek şey bunu atamak. Bunu atayınca oluşturmuş olduk. Tamam arkadaşlar, bu kadardı. Sorusu olan var mı? Any question here? No question. Is it clear? Okay. So let's just play C and what's happening. If there is a bug or something, it's working. So now I think it's time to talk about the ball direction. And now see, the ball is always going in that direction. I want to do something different. I want to say if the ball hits the upper side of the racket, I want to change the direction to the upside, to the up and maybe in between X and Y. To do that, I have to do some mathematics. Simply take a look at this one here. If the ball hits on the center, then bounce back, perpendicular here. If not, let's say if it's on the top side, top border, then I want to give an angle for this. And if it's down, I want to give angle for this. To do that, I have to first of all know the position of the ball when where it hits the racket, right? I can simply do that because I have on collision enter. In on collision enter, if the ball hits the racket, I can get the position of the ball, right? Simply because in on collision enter is for the first time when you hit it, it will give you the position. You can do that in this one. Aynı anda hani çok exit'te de yapabilirsin, enter'de de yapabilirsin. Çok ciddi bir fark yok çünkü çarptan da geri çekiyor. İkisinde de yapabilirsin ama enter olduğu için elimizde onu da yapabiliriz. So here, let's say I have a ball here, and this ball is coming here, and then ball has X and Y direction, right? And I want to, for example, for that area, it will have that kind of angle. If it hits this area, I want to have that kind of angle. So that kind of angle means the bigger Y value, right? Because these two are producing that vector. So how can we do that? Simply, I need to get the Y axis of this velocity vector. I need to compute the velocity return vector and give it to the unity. So I want to know where my ball the thing is I want to know where is my position of the ball reference to this racket. Yani rakete göre benim topum nerede? To do that, I have to first of all get the global value of this racket, the Y value, and then find the position of this racket value and extract them or subtract them and get this A value. And if I divide this A value by B value, that will produce a value between 0 and 1 because A value is less than B value. Or let me first of all write them. I will explain this later to you. This is hard, a little bit explanation is hard for me. But to do that, I have to check whether it's a racket or not, because it shouldn't act same thing in this and here and there. So I have to have another tag. So go tag manager and say left racket and then right racket. Can close the window because it's cold. So now I have this one. Go to ball here again, racket here again, not racket, go to ball here again. Say if the tag equals tag dot left racket, and then if the tag dot equals the tag dot right racket. So for the left one, I have to compute this one. This is left racket. I know that the ball's direction is something like this. Sorry. Cannot choose it. So ball is coming that direction. And I have to compute that direction, right? The returning direction. Like this one. So For the returning direction, let's say it's this, the x value will be 1. And then y value, I don't know, I have to compute the y value. So, say, float x, this should be 1 here. And then float y, I don't know yet. But I know a here. Position y minus position racket y. So, this is ball, say transform, it's ball. And then position y minus, I need to have racket here. And then I already know racket here. Left racket. Sorry, I made a mistake. Where is racket here? It's a collision, right? It will be the collision. So, transform.position.y minus collision.transform dot position and y. Okay, that is my racket. Because the ball, when the ball hits the left racket, which means it's a racket, then collision will be my racket. So, this is the racket position y, and this is ball position y, which means that position minus that position center, and that will give me the a value. So, that is a. And then float b value, that the b value is actually the height of my racket. Again, collision dot collider, then bound. This is a bit hard to know that, but and then size, then y. That will give me the size y of this racket value. So if I say float something, call it y, that is equal to a divided by b. And then I need to have a returning direction. That is simply new vector 2 and x and y value. Arkadaşlar, Türkçesini basitçe söyleyeyim. Benim ihtiyacım olan şey aslında şu değil mi? Dönüş vektörü. Ben dönüş vektörünün x bileşenini biliyorum. Zaten x yönünde gidecek, yani bir birim gidecek. Ancak bunun y bileşenini bilmiyorum. Eğer y bileşenini bulursam, elimde x var. Vektör olarak yazdığım zaman zaten bana bunu verecektir. X büyüklüğünü bilmiyorum. X büyüklüğünde şuna bağlı olsun istiyorum. Top raketin burasına geldiği zaman, daha küçük bir açıyla buraya geldiği zaman daha büyük bir açıyla olmasını istediğim için benim için önemli olan şey aslında topun y ekseninde çarptığı yerin merkez olan uzaklığı, doğru mu? Benim için bu önemli. Bunun için de şunu hesaplamam gerekiyor. Topun y bileşeni eksi raketin y bileşeni. Şimdi bunu böldüğüm zaman bir değer çıkacak. Bu da benim işime yarayabilir ama b'ye bölmek istiyorum. Sebebi de her zaman 0 ile 1 arasında büyük bir değer bulmak istiyorum. Yani çok büyük bir değer çıkmasın. Velocity değer çok büyük olmasın. Bunu şu şekilde yapmak yerine şeyde yapabilirdim. Normal vektörle yapabilirdim ama şimdilik bu şekilde kalabilir. İsterseniz hiç bulaşmadan normalde de yapabiliriz. Problem değil. And multiply by move speed. That is my velocity. And say I already have this one, right? Velocity. And this time I want to set this velocity to this direction vector. Or simply remove this one and this one. This will be the same. And you don't need this anymore. So now I will give the new velocity. That velocity is going to be computed based on the position of the ball when it hits. İstersen bölmeyelim. Hiç bölmeyelim. Buna y de. Ama bu defa bunu normalize etmemiz gerekiyor. Böyle de olur. Olur mu? Değer verecek. Bu şekilde yapabilirsin. It's up to you. You can change the algorithm. This time I didn't do it. This is going to give me the y value and I normalize the value. But that won't help me, I guess. Oh, this is not going to work. Çalışmaz arkadaşlar. Ne çalışmaz? Büyüklük her zaman aynı olacak. Doğru mu? 1 olacak burada. Benim işime yaramaz ki bu. Normal spek benim işime yaramaz. Şu şekilde yapsam bu defa çok büyük bir değer çıkacak. Bak senin dediğin gibi yapmasam, şöyle yapsam. yani bu şekilde kalsa. Bu defa bu fark büyüdükçe büyüyecek, aşırı derecede büyüyecek. Ben bunu kontrol etmek için bir sayıya bölüyorum aslında. B olması şart değil. Ona da bölebilirim. İlla bunun büyüklüğüne böleceğim diye bir kaydı yok. Çok büyük değer büyük istemediğim için bölüyorum. Tek olay o, başka bir şey değil. So let's simply make it like this. And this is okay. I have to do the same for this one. But I don't like this kind of code. I want to make it a method, and this will be the minus one, right? Because for the right racket, the extraction should be the inverse. So the right is always positive and left is negative. So it should be one. You see they're almost same. Therefore, I want to create a method. Right click here, quick action, and extract method. Say compute returning method. Returning vector, say simply. And this is the collision because I want to shade. And I want to add one more here. I don't want this one. Say vector. This could be float value, and then call it x. And I don't want this one. Instead, put it x here. And this should be for the left racket should be 1, and for the right racket that should be -1. You understand the idea? This is just a programming things, nothing about logic. And see what's happening. Sorry, I forgot to add something. Go to right and left racket. We have to have tag manager, and add tag manager, and then name them. This is going to be right racket. Right racket. This is going to be the left racket. And then play the game. It looks like it's working, right? Okay, you see, it's working. Top yukarı bölge çarptığı zaman yukarı gidiyor, aşağı bölge çarptığı zaman aşağı gidiyor. Nereden geldiğinin bir önemi yok mesela. Hangi açıdan gelirse gelsin. Oyun mantığı bu şekilde tasarlanmış oldu. Do you have any question so far? No question. Let's have a break. And after that we're going to continue. You want to have a break now? No? Okay, after 10 minutes we are here.